Hey everyone, and welcome to what is episode 13 of the Always Wolves Squadcast. It seems so long since the last one. So much to get our teeth into today, and I'm joined again by Manny Singh. How are you, Manny?
How you doing? How you doing, both?
And also our Ames. How are you, Amy?
Oh yeah, I'm all good, thanks.
And
How is everyone?
I've been put to shame today because if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that both Manny and Amy, because we always wonder what Amy's going to wear because she's got so many shirts. But Amy is wearing a new love, which is the Wolves official Portuguese away kit, and I ain't. And I got told off, but I have got my retro trackie on today. So we're in lockdown. How are you all keeping?
Keeping inside this room, nowhere to go.
So, aren't we? Getting on.
We practiced well. We had a good pre-season lockdown, so this is a second one.
So we're all prepared for it this time.
2.0.
Yeah.
And you're okay. And I know Amy, because Amy's recently been on an adventure up to her other house because they own multiple houses around the world. And tell everyone where you've been.
We've been in the Highlands in a place called Dornoch, which is 500 miles away from Wolverhampton, because my granny was from up there, so we've got the house up there still.
Lovely.
So which is quite nice to escape lockdown for a little bit, all outdoors. As if any of you tuned in today's live stream, me and my dad were in a pub on Sunday, which was
that
fantastic.
Was right. I had you as my half-time guest, didn't I? And they were in a pub, and you were literally the only people in that pub.
Brilliant.
We're the only people in the pub. It's a very small place anyway. We're the only people in the pub, and we were obviously the only people watching the Wolves game. So, and there wasn't really anything to get rowdy about, so we didn't get thrown out either.
You did have a couple of nice pints each, though.
We did savour that sweet beer. It's going to be a while before we get another one of those. But anyway,
because obviously Scotland not being in the lockdown, especially the Highlands, is quite low infection rate, wasn't it? So it's
So, but it's back in Wolverhampton now. You know,
how long did it take you to drive back?
10.5 hours.
10.5 hours. And
yes, including breaks, but door to door, 10.5 hours. Yeah, so
that's good. Amy should have walked it. I would have done a fundraiser for you.
You can get to New York as quick.
Might have taken the whole lockdown to do that, but no, it was nice to get away. Very fortunate to have been able to get away, but we did go up thinking we was going to have to turn straight back round because of the announcement.
You did a bit of hiking as well, didn't you? You got a few hikes in there.
Yeah, I did a Monroe. It was an experience. So
on your Instagram, so put some
all that the outdoors, me, or apart from when I'm watching the Wolves. So
and did you miss Blossom?
Yeah, she's here. She's next to me, but you can't see her at the moment. I'm sure she'll come on in a bit.
Probably make an appearance. Well, fantastic. Well, there you go. If you want to know any more about the Highlands or Scotland, Amy's your gal, definitely. So, Manny, we're going to kick off with you first. I think what we're going to do. We're going to go into in depth with any of the games, but let's look at the start of the season, Manny. Yeah. What are your positives and your negatives that you can take out of the start of the season?
I think if we start with the positives, we've won half our games.
Yeah.
We've won one before. So that's a positive, more points. Our defence, apart from one debacle, looks absolutely rock solid. In 3 and a bit years, in the Premier League, we are the third best defence in the country behind Liverpool and Man City. So the defence with Kilman's emergence, huge positive, doesn't put a foot wrong, does all the basic things really well. Rui Patricio, positive. Cody's just carried on as he's left off. I think, Neves' passing already this season is better than what he did last year.
Very impressed with him against the Crystal Palace game.
Yeah, against Crystal Palace. So, and I think Nelson Semedo, for me, is a very comfortable professional footballer, still trying to fit in with our way of play, but you can tell the guy's got a lot of skill. So I think they are positives. The negative is the one thing that, I was demanding at the start of the season was goals. And we've scored 8 goals, and there's only the bottom 4 who have conceded less, maybe. We're by far and away the the lowest in the top half of the table, and we don't have shots on goal. So it's not just scoring goals. We don't have a huge amount of shots on goal. So that puts a pressure on people like Raul to, come up with the goods. So that's the biggest negative is the goal scoring for me. I'm not too bothered that much about finding the pattern of the player and stuff like that. I think we can work and improve and get better, and we've seen good signs. It's just we have to create more. We have to somehow create more. I've got my own thoughts on it. We'll discuss it, obviously.
Yeah, we're going to come on to a little bit more onto the goals. And
so, positives, defence rock solid, won 4 games, more points than last year, but the negative, we have to score more goals and no fans. That's a big negative.
Absolutely. And what about you, Amy? You're sure positive and negative, or has Manny covered it?
Basically said everything that I was going to say. The defence for me is something that I think has really clicked. And I really think that's a lot to do with the introduction of Kilman, because Saïs has obviously been covering that position for quite a while now, but that's not his natural position. He came to us and he was in the midfield, but he's obviously covered it well and done a fantastic job, but he's not a natural defender. Whereas Kilman's come in, and I just think the three of them, there's the way that they understand one another and them playing together. Kilman's obviously learning a great deal off the both of them, and it goes back to the fact that when Nuno does get these young players in, he gets them in and he works them in the training ground. Doesn't throw them in to kind of like scare them or anything, and doesn't really build their confidence. And you can see that in the way that he plays. And I know we'll come on to the decision against Leicester, but I did feel for him then, because I thought he's in that position where it went completely against him. It wasn't his fault at all, and I just hoped that it didn't knock him, and it really didn't. And I think that just shows so much about him and how much he's about player. And he's actually, from the fact about Kilman, I don't know whether he's finished it, but he's actually studying for a degree alongside playing professional football.
Very clever, yeah.
Which I just think shows a lot about his application to everything, which you can see in the way that he plays football as well. He might be slowly becoming my favourite player, but TBC on that one. And then obviously, I think the new signings are slowly fitting in. I think a lot of the frustrations where the lack of goals are coming from is the fact that the wing backs, which is obviously such a vital position to the way that Wolves play, has completely changed. So Doherty's gone, and Johnny's obviously injured and probably out for the rest of the season. So that those two crucial positions, which is where the ball gets forward more and where we seem to be able to create more opportunities, they're not there at the moment. And Doherty did score quite a few goals when he came to the chance and got that creative. So I think that's probably one of the reasons. But again, the frustration is the lack of goals, and you think it's only so long before they start to get really found out about it. And watching some of these games as well, you're not there, so watching them on the telly as well when there's no goals and it's all the first halves aren't great, it's quite a hard watch, to be honest, as a fan, isn't it? Because you really need it at the moment to try and get something. And the goal rushes that has been happening in the Premier League, I mean, it shows how good Wolves is dependency of that. Apart from West Ham, we've not really seen the brunt of that. But why is everyone else scoring so many goals, but we aren't? It's just, I don't know. It's just a bit, when you start to think about it more, it is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely, I mean, I'll just mind from that. I think you've both covered it. Positives is, although I don't think we've played, apart from the Palace game, consistently, we've played in bursts. It's still technically Wolves' best start to a Premier League season, even though a lot of people have been very frustrated. I've heard the word boring bandied about, all that sort of jazz that's been put out. And I think we'll come on to that in terms of the formation and the lack of goals we're going to cover in a little bit more depth shortly. I think you're right about Max Kilman. He was on my thing. I think it's a breakthrough season for him. He can actually play. Did anyone mention he played England for football?
No, don't mention that. You're not allowed.
I just had to get it in there.
You want to cut that out, Dave.
He can
know that, but I didn't say it.
He could be picked for England eventually for the senior normal football or Ukraine, because his parents are Ukrainian. Did you know? Both his parents are Ukrainian. I think Semedo. I think I think obviously the first game he was caught out a little bit, but then obviously Nuno eventually managing to get some time on the training ground. He started to look a lot better going forward as well as defensively. And again, it's the lack of goals, and it's a standing joke on my my live streams that we don't score before the 40th minute. It's just we don't score many in the first half, other than when they shocked us against Sheffield United. We scored 2 in the first 6 minutes. But yeah, I think it's a good point to actually come on to that. I mean, Manny, this is one of the things that we talked about before, and one of the highlights that you pulled out as a fan that you wanted to see Wolves improve. I think you said if we're scoring more goals, we don't have to worry about these last-minute equalisers, as what happened against Newcastle.
Or even VAR, we don't even have to worry about that. You know, you've scored 2 goals, then the odd VAR decision going against you doesn't affect you.
Yeah, my dad said it the other week. I always do a little thing on my Instagram story of my dad after watching the football, and he just, after Newcastle got up game, he was just like, we've got to score more than 1 goal. We can't win a game if we just score 1 goal, and it's true.
Newcastle didn't have a sniff, but they did because we only 1-0 up, so they've always got a chance.
You need 1 chance when you're only 1-0 up. And
you know, if we go back onto the first halves and the lack of goals, because that is the biggest Achilles heel for Wolves. Every time they scored in the first half, they've actually gone on to win. Yeah. So Nuno did an interview with Sky Sports today, I think it's on their website, to talk about Wolves' style of play. And he mentioned how the wing backs are so crucial. It's so crucial, and that uses the talents of Cody and Ruben Neves. And we saw that against Crystal Palace. Both Semedo and Ait-Nouri were right on the touchline, and we'd never really saw them defensively. They were really on the front foot, and the balls Neves and Cody played were superb, and we had a style of play. And that's his style of play. And then when you lose the ball, the transition to get compact and have 5 at the back. And then when you win the ball back, you then use the pace of Neto, he said, and the likes of Ait-Nouri, who's got a lot of pace, and Semedo, these runners that get forward very quickly in support. So even against, if you look at the match that we played just, and the first half again, we were like defending. Actually, we started for the first 2 or 3 minutes. We had a couple of really fast attacks. We were on the front foot. We took the game to them. And then suddenly we went back into our compact position. And then suddenly we have to now, their plan is to have runners or wing backs. And neither of that worked. Leicester pinned us back and we got Suffolk. And the whole of the first half was basically a waste for us.
I do think that the penalty that was given really knocked us out of our stride mentally a little bit, I think. And you saw
our first half, Dave, rely on maybe us not conceding. So we're not conceding and we're okay, and then we can use the pace and use the talents that we've got on the pitch to win the match. But if you go 1-0 down, then you've got to change the way you're playing suddenly.
I think that's the thing, though, when it, like the Man City match springs to mind, is again after they had that penalty, Say's had that penalty, and then the attitudes just flipped again, and it's almost like you say, when they concede, they just don't seem to be able to have a plan B.
Yeah.
Because then the plan B is reserved in the second half, when it's almost like they all go guns blazing and play like they've got nothing to lose. So I don't know whether there's something in the tactics.
There is a lot in the stats actually. When Wolves take the lead, I think we've only lost 1 game from scoring first, but when we concede first, we very rarely win. And our last 9 games that we've won, when we've won them, we haven't conceded a goal. When we've conceded a goal, we've failed to win any of our, all the last 9 games have been without conceding. And, so that shows, like you're saying, Manny, we don't score enough goals.
The psychology of playing at 0-0 and playing at 1-0 down is different, because the team that scores against you suddenly plays different. They relax more, they're more confident, they pass the ball more, and suddenly the onus is on you because you're 1-0 down.
Think back to last season, and there was 2 games which spring to mind at the top of my head, Spurs away and Man City at home, where they went from behind and came back in a phenomenal way, and it never really seemed to affect them. And the only reason that I can think from that is the impact of the fans being there. And it's, that Cody especially and Nuno always say about how much they're missing the fans, and you hear that from them more than any other football team. I think they always mention it on Match of the Day, etc. And for me, when they say about it, the fans sucking it into the back of the net, and I really think that when the fans are there for Wolves, they really play that 12th man so much. And that, for me, is probably one of the reasons where their heads do get a bit low. And then, like we said, they're going at half time to get that pick-me-up from Nuno and the backroom staff. But previously, they were getting it from the fans that just aren't there before. Because you think of yourself, Wolves fans, I mean, in previous past times, they have been quite, harsh to their team when we have been in that situation. But in recent years, everyone loves it so much. You go 1-0 down and you just get behind the boys straight away. It's not negative or anything. It's always really positive, and it's probably that lack of positivity that is maybe causing them to play in the way that they are.
It's strange how it affects the psychology of players. There was an Aston Villa fan who actually said the reverse for them. They said because they were struggling and losing every week, the fans were getting on the team's back, spent £100 million and struggling. As soon as lockdown happened and came back, there were no fans. The team freed up and played better, and the fans loved it because they'd never seen football like that, and they've carried that on. So for that team, it's not having the pressure of the fans has released them. For someone like Wolves, it's probably the opposite, where when, like Amy says, you're 1-0 down, you're struggling, the fans can sing a song or have a roar or one crunching tackle. That's all it takes for the fans to get out their seats, and it lifts the team, doesn't it?
It has been said as well many times since Wolves have been in the Premier League that Wolves, the atmosphere at Molineux can be one of the most loudest and ferocious. I know there's games when it's not, but it's been absolutely magnificent, the atmosphere, and it's been commented by so many away fans. And you also see as well in some of the results that because there's no fans in the stadium, there's so many more games away from home being won. And that's obviously got to be a direct impact of of fans not being. There's almost kind of hardly any advantage other than the familiar surroundings.
It doesn't make a difference at the moment, does it, whether you're home or away? And I think you'll never... It's not the game, and I think this whole pandemic and everything has just proven football and other professional sports, not just football, it's not the same without fans. Like, you can go and play, but when you get to that level of that professionalism sport, it's the fans that add it. It's the fans that make the difference from when you're on the training field, when you're in the stadium, because it's a show. They go to show and they go to play, and that gets the best out of them.
If you think about it, fans, players buzz off fans, don't they? So you get a corner, you sometimes had the striker or the winger will just shake his fist at the fans or raise the fans.
To see Martinho doing this in the court.
It's interaction, so it's not just goals and victories. It's just normal interaction of the relationship between fans, and that's gone now. So it's almost like they're playing on a training ground.
There is some hope, though, isn't there, on the horizon with the announcement of this vaccine potentially and others coming online there.
Fingers crossed. We need to get back.
Who knows that you know before the end of this season we might get a full Molineux. Fingers crossed if they can get if the vaccine.
Well, as Fosun behind the development of it and some of the financing, make sure they Wolves are the first team back.
Well, don't forget, Fosun own a pharmaceutical company. I think they bought Wolves for 30 million. They bought this pharmaceutical company for hundreds of millions, and they have been involved in some of the vaccine trials. So that's positive to look forward to. In terms of the lack of goals, Manny, again, we'll just obviously touch on this.
Yeah.
Nuno said at the end of last year we're starting a new cycle. Do you think that's got something to do with it? Because obviously he's talked about having more possession and scoring more goals, and the change from the 3-5-2 to the 3-4-3 formation, which he is stuck with. Do you think that's just teething problems? And
I think in that position, Amy just said earlier, the key is the two wide. That's the key. So if they are on the front foot and they play as the 4, quickly that can become from a 3-4-3 to a 5-2-3 very quickly. And if you're penned back and suddenly 10 minutes have gone and you haven't been able to get out because the opposition are on top of you, suddenly that looks quite negative, quite boring. 2 fairly defensive midfielders with 5 at the back. It's almost like 7 players and then this big gap before we join up with the striker. When it works against Palace, where the full-backs, the wing-backs were right high on the halfway line, on the touch line, they never, ever had to make a 5 at the back so that it was always a 3-4-3, and it worked. And it worked.
And in the first 5 or 10 minutes against Palace, the way they were passing the ball around, they were right on the front foot. I think Nuno's come out and said, you know, it's not that they're not trying to score goals. Neves, it was been reported. He's had an interview about, you know, we need to be doing better in the first half of games. I think that they all know this, but getting over that hump, do you think, is it psychological? I
think it's just tactics. It's just like I say, new players, tactics, and it has clicked in parts, sporadically. It has clicked, and we've seen
it clicked that second half against Man City, didn't it? When Man City, it scored.
The start against Sheffield United, you know, the first 10 minutes was like fabulous stuff.
I do think it's. I don't think there's anything to worry about. I don't think we should be worried. I do think it will click, but then I do think as well that are they just kind of doing the best that they can this season, and bearing in mind the fact it's not really a proper season without the fans and, you know, the spectacle of the Premier League. So are they just using it to build for next season, and just doing what you can? Because I think whoever wins the league this year, it's not a true reflection, in my opinion. It's not the Premier League, it's the training ground matches. There's not the intensity there. There was no pre-season, so the players probably still aren't as fit as they should be or where they should be because they're still recovering from last year. So I just think the whole, whatever happens this year, it's okay, you take it. And I'm sure if Wolves by some miracle did win it win the league or win the FA Cup, we'd all be jumping for joy. But I do think it's not a true reflection. So maybe they are just using it as a bit of a friendly season. I don't know.
I think he definitely said we're on a new cycle. And I think when he was saying that, it's kind of like they're trying to develop this side that has got more possession based rather than sitting back and hitting counter-attacking to take charge. Against Leicester, and let's face it, Leicester are a damn good side. They've won 9 out of 11 matches. They've won 6 on the bounce. They're full of confidence. Leicester stopped us from playing. They did a job on us very much. They put us on the back foot. And although I thought
they didn't create much, to be fair.
Well, Leicester had 3 shots on target. 2 were the penalties.
They weren't creating themselves. It was quite a dour 0-0 match, to be fair, with them dominating the possession. Even though we played badly, I didn't think it was the worst performance in the world. It was just wasn't a great match to watch, was it?
Well, if you were a neutral, that would have been a horrible match to watch.
Yeah, and that's the thing that levelled at Wolves is being boring. I remember a lot of the Stoke fans saying the same thing about Stoke. This thing, and look where Stoke are now. Sometimes when you're trying to change, it does take a little bit of time. We have got a very tough run of fixtures coming up, and I think we'll find out a lot more after the next 6 or 7 games on where we really are this season. Because there's really tough fixtures coming up. But it wouldn't surprise me, because they are tough fixtures, that we get the results. That's just so typical Wolves. Impact of new signings, Amy. What's your thoughts?
We've touched on it before, but Samosa, I've been really impressed with him, and I think he's slowly being moulded into the way that Wolves playing. You've got to think he's obviously got all of this experience from Barcelona, which is fantastic. You know, the best football team, one of the best football teams in the world. He's played alongside Messi, who is arguably the best player to ever grace football. But La Liga is a very, very different league to the Premier League. So that, regardless of his talent, that is obviously going to take a while to kind of settle down. But I think he's filling into that role well. He plays it a bit differently to Doherty, and I think it's kind of shown how much of an integral role that Doherty did play to that team, and maybe something that none of us really, appreciated while he was still there. But I think he's, really good, really, really promising, and I think he's going to be, towards the end of the season, he's going to be really good for us. Traore, I thought the Chris Palace, he had an unbelievable debut, maybe potentially a little bit too good, because I think everyone's expectations for Leicester was a lot higher, and I thought he had an okay game, but he was playing catch up quite a lot, I think, on it, and I think that probably took him by surprise a little bit after his.
I think a little bit of naivety in the Leicester game.
Yeah.
It was a lot more on the back foot, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think when Marcel came out, I do hope he starts with Marcel next game. Now he seems to be coming back, because I feel like the last, 20 minutes he came on, I just felt he held things a lot better. which I think, considering the run of games that they've got coming up, that's really important to have that experience, that position, because we've said it's a critical position. And then who else this signed? Fabio. Fabio, we've not seen much from him yet, though.
Who's impressed you, Manny?
Well, we already touched on Semedo, and he's a class player. Ryan Nouri, I've seen 3 times. So I saw him for his last match against PSG, which he totally ran the show against them, even though PSG won. He was so he plays well, and then he carried that on against Palace. He is the kind of player that if we're attacking and playing well, and the front 3 are ticking, then he will. Because our front 3 didn't hold the ball. He was pinned back a lot, wasn't he? Again, he's a teenager, so we've got to sort of temper our expectations a little bit. Marcel looks experienced. Again, injuries were a bit concerned, but they've only been niggly injuries, which he's come back from very quickly.
Under-23s, didn't they? Under-21s. Marcel.
Marcel, he did. Yeah, I think that's just to get his match fitness up, because he's had the fitness issues. But every time he has entered the pitch, he just looks assured, confident. He keeps the ball, passes it, So I think he's definitely a success. And then after that, we have to let's be honest. Vitor Ferreira, we don't know what's happening with him, because at the moment he's gone with the under-21s to play for Portugal. And again, he's a young lad. He's only on loan, and maybe he just needs time to settle, acclimatise, live in Wolverhampton. You have to be a certain type of person to live in cold, wet winter in Wolves. And then obviously the last one, Fabio Silva. It's unbelievable that a guy that's only before yesterday played 1 full game for us. He only played 1 full game, and the game we were awful in. Everyone was awful in that game.
That's against the Stoke game.
Yeah, the Stoke Carabao Cup. After that, the guys had 10 minutes, 15 minutes here and there. When we're 3-0 down against West Ham, we were losing against, let's give him a chance. Yesterday, it was only Doncaster, but you only can play against the team in front of you. And he scores 2 goals. And for any goal scorer, whether it's Doncaster or Manchester United, if you've hit the back of the net for the first time for your club, that will give him lots of confidence, I'm sure. So,
well, I think you're right. I think the thing is, because he's coming on this big price tag, we have to get the big price tag. He's 18. He's adjusting to a new country.
He didn't pay that. He didn't put that on him. That was Wolves' choice, and the agent or whatever. He is just a young kid with lots of talent, and we've got to give him a chance.
His second goal last night, the way he took it as well, was so composed.
Very brave. Put his head in where could have had it kicked off.
And scoring, I think, will do him a bit of get that sort of like off his back. That'll help him out quite a lot.
But the only thing I have to question, which fans have questioned a lot, and it's important that we highlight it, that was 35 million quid. So the fans' question is, 35 million quid, and we couldn't get a proven striker or somebody who can hit the back of the net. Yeah, he's 18, and we've got to give him a chance. That's him. But Wolves, you had the chance to invest £35 million in getting a backup for our striker, and you haven't. And that is a genuine question that the club, I'm sure the club do know that. They are hoping that Silva comes good, but it puts a lot of pressure on him. I know it's not his price, but it's a massive amount of pressure on him. And
I think with strikers, Manny, whether you score look at Bully, he scored goals at the lower leagues, Division 4, 3, 2, and never played. He played for England, scored. Yeah. If you're a goal scorer and you've got some confidence, scoring goals gives you the confidence, doesn't it? And that probably helped him a lot last night. And he also got 90 minutes. I think. Go on, Amy. Sorry.
I just think back to Manny's point. It's the long-term vision, isn't it? And that's and quite rightly fans are saying that. Like some of my mates, though, it was in after Villa beat Liverpool and Watkins that they got from Brentford, and he's obviously coming into Premier League. He was probably ready to come into Premier League, and they said, why are Wolves signing kids instead of looking for someone that's kind of ready-made and can come in and make an impact? Which it is a valid point. But I do think, and what I do like about Wolves now, and I'm not just saying this as a fan, is that they are looking long-term instead of short-term and thinking, right, okay, it's a hefty price tag, but trusting that he is as good as they kind of say he is, working on him, developing him. You know, Nuno's developed some fantastic players, and the coach, not just Nuno, but all the backroom staff have developed some fantastic players in the last few years. And having that raw talent and that, I just think it's exciting that Wolves are at a point where they can think long term or future proofing instead of just thinking in the short term. But then obviously you do think if Raul gets injured.
Well, I think that's the thinking, isn't it? I think Ollie Watkins in Villa, he's come in to start, whereas you know, Fabio's come in as basically learning and understudying, because Raul's going to start every game. Ollie Watkins wouldn't guarantee being start every game for Wolves in that position. Whereas Fabio, at his age, he's probably happy to, you know, get his chance, learn. He needs to obviously get a little bit stronger as well. It does fall over a lot. You can see the European stuff in him. He does go flying when he goes over, but he's only young. So I think, you know, bearing in mind,
I think Fabio would have personally, he probably would have scored 4 or 5 goals for Villa if he was playing for them. I think Villa are playing the best attacking football in the country.
I think the starting the Villa got, what's his name? Not Grealish, the other guy that played, that they got on three. Barkley's made a big difference to them.
Ross Barkley.
He has. He looks, you know, Villa are playing some good football. You have to give them the credit where credit's due.
No, you do. It pains me to say, but they are.
They have. Anyway, so like the other thing that I want to touch on, because I think it's very important, and I'll crack on first with this. Where does Traore fit into this team? Traore has been coming on sort of like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Pedro Neto, Daniel Podence, Jimenez starting up front. Traore's coming off the bench. Teams are doubling and tripling up from. You watched the last few games, how they have one player, then 2 or 3 yards behind, they have another one. How do we get Traore? Do you think because he hasn't really, I mean, we were talking about it, done much when he's come on? Is it the lack of game time? Or what is it? Because it just doesn't seem to be happening for it. Is it that they've worked him out? We've kept hold of him. Everyone wanted to keep him during the summer, and he's getting 20, 25 minutes. What's the answer? Manny, come on.
Well, first of all, Nuno's obviously, you know, gone with Podence and Neto. So there's the space. Where do you play Traore? He's gone with those 3. And personally, though, Neto and Podence, I think, do deserve their chance. They have shown, you know, they have got good abilities and they play well. So then it's like, where does Traore come in? Is he just a bit part player, or is he the kind of player that we could try and use in a 3-5-2? You know, and where we switch.
I just thought
where we switch. So you bring him running through the middle. If you think about some of his better performances last year, Man City away, or the goal against Spurs he scored, or the one against Man City he scored, and the one he scored in Braga, all of them were from the central position. He ran from the centre of the pitch. So maybe that's where we sometimes need to use him, not just stick him out and just say beat all the players, because players have found out, and then maybe switch him and put him on the other side as well. You know, and it's maybe a bit more expansive thinking by us.
Do you know what, Manny? That's exactly the same thought that I've had. I think Traore on the right-hand side, he's literally got that little channel and he's being boxed in. I think because he's got so much strength and skill, if you do play him through the middle, then they can't literally box him in. They don't know if he's going to go left, he's going to go right, he's going to go forward. I mean, another idea is like a 3-4-1-2. He plays just behind the 2. Which they can turn into 3, but he's just got that option. And also switching from left to right, you know, like we've seen Wolves do with wingers in the past. They start on the right and left side, and then they switch, don't they, to give. So I don't know what you think, Amy, but I'd like to see him playing a little bit more. Like I think, like what Manny said, giving him more of a free rein to roam and use his strength and his pace and his. So he opens up that space, and then he's not. It looks a little bit predictable. They know what he's going to do. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the way how they played him before it is that predictability, and it's almost like he has been found out almost, and you do feel for him a little bit when he comes on, because you see him getting all like baby oiled up and everything, and all the players of the opposition are like, oh God, he's coming on, and then they just literally just swarm him and they just take him, and it makes someone that's unstoppable to play impossible to play his game. But then it's Wolves need to use him. It could utilise him in the way that they can. And I don't think we are utilising him at the moment. I really don't. And I don't know whether they are just trying different things. But like you said about him playing up the middle, I think that would probably be a good thing to try. And just moving around the pitch a bit more. I think he needs to be playing more in the attacking role than the defence role, because when he was playing right wing back at the start of the season, it really didn't work because his defence and he just isn't there. But using that pace, I mean, they did that FIFA rankings thing, and I don't play FIFA at all, but he's like 96 like pace or whatever, which is just insane. Like, and that's such talent to have, to not be using it. And I think maybe when we say, going back to the first conversation about lack of goals, only having him come on 30 minutes, he's a creative player. If there ever were one, can take that ball, take pace and get things in the box, which we saw very well last season. And it's channeling that and making sure that we don't lose that. But I think, playing him just behind the front two with Raul and with Neves, I think he could link up with Neves a lot better potentially than he has been, because Neves...
It fills the gap sometimes when you're stretched in the defence and the attack. You've got the three attackers and then our defensive midfielders fall too deep. We have that. And we have to be able to switch it around with Pedence, Neto, Traore, Jimenez, Silva, and eventually Vitinha. We should have enough players to play 1, 2, 3, 2 on their own, 3 in midfield. There should be lots and lots of options. And
I think as well, especially with the next few games with Southampton, I did think Neto looked a bit like he was trying a bit too hard on Sunday.
A bit like Jota at times last year for us.
Yeah, and I think, oh, hello, Manny.
It was getting dark.
And I think they do need to try different things, and they've got the players. They can't be set. I know Nuno likes to play small teams and not change things around a lot, but they need to try different things, especially with the run of games they've got coming up.
Yeah, Nuno does, when we lost 4-0 against West Ham, he reacted, and we maybe didn't play well, but we went on a run, 1-3, drew 1. He does react, and I'm sure he knows that we're not scoring. And I do expect him not to be stubborn for too long and say, actually, we're going to try something different. We're going to do things slightly different to see if this will create us more, because the proof is that on the large, even though the results have gone for us, our creativity is amongst the lowest in the league. And like Amy says, if you've conceded one, your defence has still played well, but you could potentially lose a game. And
you think you should start giving a chance to start?
Traore, I would start him against Southampton.
Yeah.
I think they'll need the pace against Southampton, because Southampton have been looking phenomenal. They've been looking absolutely fantastic.
That's what I'm saying.
They've lost Danny.
It's so difficult.
Yeah. They've lost Danny Ings for a bit. He's like
he has, isn't he? Yeah.
He's a bit of a Raul figure for them. So it's
you take Danny Ings any day.
You've got to try something different and take it to them and start off fast and then sustain it and moving. The other thing we haven't mentioned, and I wanted to mention, was our defence is really good, but our centre halves have to learn how to step forward. All the great sides who've ever played three at the back, they've always had somebody who strides into midfield. And whether that's Cody or Bowley or Kilman, Kilman's very good on the ball. Cody can spray it everywhere. Bowley's not a slouch. So what happens is when you stride forward, Neves is coming back to get the ball off Cody. Doesn't need to do that. Cody can move into the Neves position when you're attacking. Ruben further forward. And when Ruben's further forward, he's a threat. And he nearly scored. He nearly scored a wondrous goal. I know he hasn't scored for a bit. But he hasn't scored for a bit because he's 70 yards away from the goal and you can't score from there.
Did you see how deep Raul was playing against Leicester to come back and get the ball? How far back he was coming to try and...
Yeah, again, I think, when it doesn't work, the striker gets frustrated, he then goes for it.
Right, so that's quite interesting that we all think that Traore should get his start. We can't really, and we don't really want to harp on too much about our favourite subject, VAR, but goodness me, we've got to talk about it.
Got to talk about it. Amy, tell us, man. Tell us what you think of this beautiful...
VAR, my favourite thing in the world.
Well,
I'm going to say one positive about VAR is that I am enjoying this season that they're actually encouraging the referees to go to the monitor more. So that for me is a step forward. I don't think Manny agrees, maybe. But the fact that when he gets to the monitor, as we saw on Sunday, is he's seeing a slowed down version of what has happened is not right. So when that referee...
Do you watch cricket, Amy? Do you watch cricket?
But that a bit, yeah. I'm not. I do like watching it, but I'm not with the ins and outs.
The replay that you just spoke to, because you just mentioned the slow motion replay. When the cricket comes on, what happens is the third umpire, the fourth umpire, the guy who makes the VAR decision, he says to the director, "Show me this, show me that, give me this replay. Can you give me the reverse angle?
Yeah.
Now play it at full speed." He directs. It's not what he's shown. He tells them, "Show me this." And the referee, when he goes there, if he's showing him slow motion, why can't the referee say, "What are you doing, you idiot?"
That's the thing. Like, it's good that they're using the monitors because it should be the referee's decision. But that's what they're being shown or how they are being asked to show it is not good enough. Like, anyone, that Max Kilman thing the other day, anyone that could see that, the way that it was slowed down, and Sky Sports actually showed exactly what the referee saw as soon as he went to monitor. Of course, it was going to be a penalty because it was slowed down, so it was just unbelievable. But when you saw it in real time, it was 100% not a penalty because there's nothing Kilman could have done about that. Like, it was a natural body position. Oh god, it was.
Was they not arguing in the VAR box? They showed something
that was
an argument.
You know what? First of all, they don't show us what they're talking about, so we don't listen in. Like the other sports, you listen into what decision they're making.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So the referee says, "Okay, that's clear. He's handballed," or "I think," and you see the whole dialogue, and then they show a clip. It's like they're taking the mick. Sky Sports have decided to show this clip in the middle of nothing. They should have been absolutely outraged. The pundits, even the pundits, I blame them. I blame the presenter of Sky Sports. I blame the whole system. They should have gone mad about that clip. They should have what the hell's going on? That's almost like that can't happen. You know, a referee walks in and starts debating, you know, potentially the decision that they've already made, and they show this. That's like almost like that happened in cricket. There'd be a big, you know, they'd probably cancel the league because it would be classed as match fixing or something.
Well, Manny, you've got what I don't understand is how the referee is not using his common sense. I mean, it's obvious you don't run like a penguin. You're running like this, aren't you? Kilman was running to get the ball and to try and get the tackle.
But Dave, if you're showing a replay and the ball is sitting there on Kilman's hand and it's frozen at that point, like Amy says, and that's all you're shown, then it's like Kilman's taking the ball home because he scored a hat-trick at the end of the game.
Absolutely. But
it's got no correlation to what actually
slow motion, you can still see the fact that, and I think that's what was being animated in the VAR at Stockley Park, whoever's thing he was saying at half-time. He's like, he was doing this, wasn't he? He was trying to say he was running. Yeah. It was not.
The whole premise of VAR was obviously on that. Has the referee made a clear and obvious mistake? So if they're still discussing this in their little tent at half-time, it's obvious that it's not a clear and obvious mistake.
Yeah, and that's what's, you know, frustrating about the whole thing is that clear and obvious mistakes, but none of the things, they're just minimal.
Happened again, though, didn't it? In the Liverpool Man City Gomez, we saw it. So it's not a Wolves thing. It's not
but in the Liverpool Man City one, Gomez, it wasn't. No, it was further away. It was about 3.
There's no way that was if that's a handball, people need.
But Gomez's hand wasn't running. Gomez's hand was out the whole time.
And hit him there, and his elbow was right next to his body. What's he supposed to do? What's he supposed to do, Dave? Cut his arm off. Where's he supposed to go? You can't take your arms off.
I'm not saying it should be a penalty, but I think the Kilman one, it was a lot closer, and he was running, wasn't he?
Both of them are not penalties. Both of them. Anyone who thinks they are penalties, the game's gone.
Well, just think how many penalties are being given. Leicester have had 8.
Leicester 9. They've had 9 after Sunday.
How many have we had?
We haven't had any.
0.
Oh, we've not been in the box to get any, have we?
We play Leicester again, and guess what? There's a VAR decision that goes against us again. as happens.
Wolves have lost 5 points against Leicester because of VAR.
You know what? Again, we'd never scored in any of those games.
We did. We scored. We beat. Bolly had the thing off his thing, and we scored.
What I'm saying is that VAR was crucial because we don't score goals.
Oh, in that game, absolutely.
In those 3 games, we never scored a goal against Leicester.
No,
regardless of VAR.
The Bolly goal was a goal, but that would have been allowed this year. But yeah, it's frustrating. I think you're right. I think it's evolving. I think this handball thing is absolutely...
It's atrocious. It's atrocious that the richest league in the world has the most amateur set of referees, rules, and VAR. Totally amateur from start to finish. The referees are amateur. The VAR is amateur. The people who make the rules and how they change them halfway through. Oh, let's have this little clause to it now. Hey, what are you doing? You had 3 months of bloody lockdown. 3 months of lockdown, sort it out. We can't, people are beating around the bush saying, oh, well, this is horrific. It's horrific. Poor standard. They'd be sacked straight away. They'd be like, if I was the owner of the Premier League, I'd start again. I'd say, all of you, go, right, we need 20 new referees. Can you apply with it?
They don't like to take responsibility for it, do they? And that's what they're like using VAR.
If I'm Anthony Taylor and I walk up to that screen, because I haven't given it, Anthony Taylor didn't give it, so I haven't given it. And now I've been told, go and check the screen. Once I go to the screen, I'll say, boy, lads, put it on full speed. Because that's what I watch. I didn't watch no bloody replay. Put it on full speed. That's what I want to see first. And then I might say, okay, can you slow that down? That's normal. That's just not like basic efficiency.
Hear what the ref's saying to them as well. You should be able to hear that. So
in rugby, you can hear it. And when it's like rugby, it always it favours the playing team more. Whereas when it's with the VR, it's favouring the rule book more, so it's not giving the benefit to the actual game itself, and that's the difference. That's why it's not working, because it's just sticking to the rules. And I don't think, if we just take, for instance, all the Leicester decisions that Wolves have had go against them because of VAR, no one would dispute those. Maybe the penalty, the Leicester fans would have, but when you see it in reality, no one, especially the goals last season, no one questioned them, and that's the difference, because they're not giving the benefit of the play to the size of teams. Are giving the benefit to the rule book, which is why it's causing.
In Holland, they made like that. This is not a Wolves thing. Patrick Bamford, the offside, his T-shirt, T-shirt. Yeah, right? Now in Holland, all they did was that little line. They made it a bit thicker. It just gives a bit more leeway. So if the attacker is slightly offside with his toenail or his T-shirt, it won't be called offside, i.e. giving him the benefit of the doubt. So
it used to be like that.
They do. Why can't we do it?
Giving the
bloody the Dutch league. The Dutch league's a farmers' bloody league, and they can do it when we can't.
It's just so frustrating, isn't it?
I love it.
Proper winds you up, Manny. That does.
You know what? I don't mind human element. You remember Frank Lampard's goal for England, and it was
don't.
That was the thing. VAR was brought in for technology. We wanted to clear that up, not to decide whether Manny's beard is offside or not. That's not what it's brought for.
So one of the things I think we should talk about whilst we're on this podcast is the Wolves women, because they've started the season again, played 6, won 6. Got through in the FA Cup as well. And Manny, I know that you've been down to see a couple of the games, haven't you? What was it like?
Yeah, again, we're all missing the football, and I went about 4 times last year, and then they started back up, limited tickets. I think one of the matches only had like 100 tickets, but we managed to get some. And the Wolves women have just carried on as they left off last season when everything got cancelled. It seems like they're really even more determined to make this season count. After basically it won the league and then it got cancelled. They were within touching distance of being promoted. They've made the first round proper of the FA Cup after beating Long Eaton, down to 10 men for a lot of the match, but they had complete dominance of the game. Jade Cross, if anybody didn't know, she's one of the twins, Emma and Jade Cross. Emma plays at the back in the Conor Cody role, and Jade Cross is the Raul Jimenez, but she's like Raul Jimenez with Traore's pace. She's sort of unstoppable, scores a lot of goals. And also notable, Anna Price recently made a 300th appearance for the Wolves women, which is a fantastic achievement. You know, and if anybody knows the Wolfpack Howlers, you know, Liam Price, who sings as the singer for them, he's the husband of Anna Price, a wonderful couple. And yeah, it's been brilliant. If you do get the chance and you want to see some football, honestly, just go down there. The next fixture was due to be their breast cancer awareness fixture, and they were going to have a pink ribbon on their home shirts, but everything got cancelled. So it's unfortunate, and personally, I don't think it should have been at their level. It was very safe environment outdoors. You know, temperature checks were done as you entered the, you know, when we went to see them away, and so it's a bit disappointing, but it's 3 weeks, I think. Hopefully they'll be back.
And they're back up again, yeah. And you went and saw, I think, was it the local team where you live, Stourbridge, didn't you?
Yeah, Stourbridge Town against Kings Langley. And it's actually, Stourbridge actually have Troy Deeney's brother play for them. So that was a delight to find that out. Deeney, thought there's not many. And obviously, you know, that Troy Deeney's from Birmingham, etc. So you thought it must be, and Googled, and yeah, but it was really nice to go to a football game and see live football, and something that I think we've all been missing. It's getting a bit tedious watching all the football on the telly, and as football fans, there is nothing better to go and watch them. And it's quite funny, me and my dad just stood next to a bunch of Albion fans who were doing exactly the same thing, and they weren't quite so friendly when they found out we were Wolves fans. No, they were
very good start to the season. I've read the baggies. Still ain't would have done.
No, I did say to them, I said, do you think you're going to stay up? And they said no. And I was like, well, it would be typical that you come up, the one season that we have in the league together, we can't actually go to a derby, but you know, God's law. God's law. That wasn't very hopeful, but it was just, and it was nice to just go and support a football club that are probably quite struggling financially with everything that's going on and stuff. So, you know, and personally, we haven't spoken about it today, and I know that it's been scrapped now, but the pay-per-view scandal that was, for me, I would have been quite happy and quite prepared to pay £15 to watch Wolves play if it had been going to lower league sides, which I think they could have easily done to try and help support clubs that are really reliant on ticket gates, because so many clubs are. So it was just nice to go and see a bit of live football and support local team. And we were actually going to go back because I did actually buy a Stourbridge Football Club hat, but obviously we can't go again now. So we will be there again. So if anyone that lives in the Dudley area wants to go and watch some live football, I can recommend going to see the Glass Boys.
Well, fair enough, isn't it? That's good. I hopefully go and see. I want to go and get to see a Wolves women game.
Well, their first round proper matches against Stourbridge women's team.
Really?
Yeah, and Stourbridge women's team are actually a very good level. It will be a really tight, hard match as well.
Is that the first round proper, is it, man?
First round proper, yeah.
Fantastic.
So we're going all the way to Wembley with Wolves women's team.
Yeah, be amazing. Manny, we've got to talk about a couple of fundraising efforts. We'll come on to the foundation in a minute. But we've got Samosa Saturday.
Yeah, Samosa Saturday, carrying on.
What number is it, Manny?
It's number 8.
Samosa
Saturday, number 8, and it comes with the Samosa Saturday mug, which I only had 100 made, and I think about 30 hours after putting it on the internet, I sold all 100. It was, you know, I haven't had any more made, so they're going to the people who've ordered the samosas, the mug. It's got the old "Keep Calm" and "Love Samosas" on. I'm
on the delivery roster again, mate.
Yeah, guys on there. We're branching out, so we're going down to Shrewsbury now. One of your mates on the old Parliament, Neil Daddy, is helping out. He's doing the Iron Bridge, Bridge North, and that way all the way up to Shrewsbury, and Blossom is helping out now.
Blossom finally, mate. You know what? She knows she needs to be on. If you're listening on the podcast, this is Amy's beautiful, beautiful cat.
Every time the word samosa is mentioned, she gets attracted.
No, she's a greedy pig. She's friends with me now, though, because I picked her up from the cattery yesterday.
I like what you put on your Instagram as well, when you put your thing about I'm on capital furlough. That was funny, that was.
But yeah, she's my friend again now after she had 10 days in the cattery. she wasn't. So if anyone wants to look after a cat next time I go away, then let me know.
Yeah, so back onto the samosas, Manny. How many?
Yeah, so obviously the restrictions came in, lockdown came in, essential travel. So we had to have a bit of thinking, but we are just delivering on the doorstep as volunteers. And it is food that has been ordered from me, knock on the door, all masked up, all hand sanitized. And yeah, we've got 100 houses, I think, nearly. So we'll all have
21st of November, isn't it, Manny?
Sorry?
21st of November, we're doing it.
21st, the Southampton game. So we try and coincide it with a football game. Hopefully they don't bloody move the kick-off to 12:30 or something.
I know, otherwise it'll be an early start for all of us, won't it? You know,
we'll have to rearrange it then. But yeah, so that's already sold out, and it's raised nearly £2,500 on its own. So
absolutely fantastic.
Fantastic effort from everybody, and it's such a hard time, but the people still come out and support and still give. And I just say to people, you can't do any shopping, can't go to the pubs, there's no pies and pints to buy, there's no season tickets, there's nothing, so give me the money. I'll look after it.
But it's about another fundraising that we're both getting involved with again. I mean, I did it last year, actually, at the Molyneux, and they're doing a virtual one this year, and it's the virtual sleep out to raise money for homeless people and for the foundation. So there is a Facebook page that you can go on to on the foundation, which is the virtual Molyneux. It's the Just Giving page, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So it's on if you just go on the Wolves app, Dave, on the Wolves app, if on the Wolves website, and just search for Molyneux Virtual Sleep Out, you'll find details. Basically, you buy tickets. It's a tenner for adults, £5 for kids, and that money goes to the Good Shepherd services. If people don't know what that is, it's opposite Waterloo Road entrance by the Billy Wright statue. It's a building there that serves up to 100 people every day who come there for food and have a wash and have a clean, and it's a brilliant service, and the funds are going to be split between the foundation and that service.
Absolutely. So, and if you don't want to buy a ticket and do it yourself, both me and Manny are doing it to raise a little bit of money. So I'll put both our links in the description.
A couple of people have asked me, how are you doing a sleep out in lockdown? It's basically to raise the awareness and raise funds. It's not the same as what we did last year. We can't really go out there and gather together. So we're doing it in our homes, and the foundation is saying, get your kids involved and just do it in your room downstairs or something, just to get them involved. Some people will be bedding down in the garden. I've sort of said I'd do that, but if it rains, I might, sneak in.
Absolutely. And it's, like you say, it's about raising awareness. The foundation do so much good work. So I think it's question time, guys. So I'm going to start with the Instagram lot. There's a few that have mentioned the Traore. Andy Benton about Traore. We've also had a couple of other people mention James Speedy about Traore. We've covered that. Noah Davis on Instagram says, quick fire, best moment for Wolves you've witnessed. Go with Amy first.
Sorry. Ever?
Yeah, I think so. Or whatever springs to mind. Quick fire.
When we stayed up against Blackburn.
Good.
Oh, best game, you said?
Best moment.
Oh, bloody hell. Jimenez goal, Spurs away, the last away day.
That was fantastic.
The last away day.
It's hard, isn't it, to pick one out? I think the second goal against United in the quarterfinals, the FA.
Oh yeah,
pretty special. Wolves 09 News says, is Nuno underperforming with this squad?
There's more to come. I think there's more to come. It's not like we're not playing at max level. So there's he before Leicester he said we're not there. There's lots of improvements. So
yeah, and the thing is as well that they've won a lot of. I mean, they've got to score a lot of points. So I don't think that's an underperformance at all. So no.
I'd agree with that. Just got to bear with it. Alex Harris on Instagram says, do you think Wolves are moving forwards or backwards this season, or is it too early to say?
Strange season. I think a lot of teams will just reset this season and just see it out the way. Yeah. I just think it's
It's not a true reflection of.
Wolves are built for the long term with their young players, it seems.
I think
we might have to.
I think you're right. It'd be nice to have a good cup run and get,
Overall, the club is moving forward in a long-term progression.
Sometimes you take a step back to take 2 steps forward, don't you? And
well, you just stop, don't you? You just stop and just see the sunset.
January transfers. This is TJ Howard, the gentleman, on Instagram said, January transfers, what do we need? Also, what do you think about Sanchez on the cards? I think he's from Lille, isn't he? Midfielder.
Well, Sanchez, if you see his Twitter, yesterday he liked a post by the Swansea Evening News, which said Wolves are interested in Renato Sanchez, and he liked it.
He's
off his official.
Very forward. He does a lot of dribbling in the centre of midfield, which I think he's averaging about 2 dribbles a game. Scored a few.
He's had a resurgence in the league this season and last season. So
he went from Benfica. I think he played for Bayern Munich for a while, but only got 10 starts. And he's got 2 seasons ago. Did he go to Lille?
And he was at Swansea as well, and he flopped there. But he seems like an improved player since then. But I just still, personally, I'd still get another striker in.
You would?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe even if it's like short term or a loan deal, just to bolster it, because we don't score goals and we can't just keep relying on Raul. So, creativity is what we need and goals. So that's what needs to be improved.
What about you, Ames?
Well, I feel like we've only just stopped talking about the transfer window. Let around
6 weeks away, Amy.
It's a late one, wasn't it, because of the late season?
It's about 6 weeks away.
Yeah, probably, as we spoke about earlier, the lack of creativity needs probably a striker to do that, because I do think our midfield, we do have a very good creative midfielder. But then, backup options, I think if you're looking to strengthen the team, it's wrong to say, and I think it is strengthening the team as a whole. So I don't think there's any weak areas. I just think everywhere just needs improving, and if you can have options, and we all know that options make players play better as well. So yeah, I'm nothing really I think we're lacking. It's just the goals at the moment, but hopefully they'll come as we say, that it's a team that's developing and still finding their feet as well.
Fantastic. Europa Wolves on Twitter says, do you think Wolves will qualify for Europe for next season? Oh yeah, I'm finishing in the top 6 this year. I think you went into the mean.
Maybe.
It's touch and go, isn't it? It's touch and go. I think there will be a lot of. We've seen the lead swap that many times, and all the teams are bunched up close together, and some freak results. So you could have a bad season and finish in the top 7 or 8, maybe, and you could have a good season and in your mind and finish mid-table. I don't expect
this year. This year there's going to be a few surprises where people finish, I think.
I think we'll know more after the next 6 or 7 games that are coming up. We'll really know football. Ashley Johnson on Twitter said, after the performance against Foxes, where do you see the season going? Kind of just covered that. Should Silva be given a better run in the team?
He's not there yet. I don't think it's fair on him to say give him a run in the team, because like we've mentioned earlier today, he's only 18. He's finding his feet in his league, and I think it'll come with time. I don't think there's a need to push him yet until he's
the only thing I can think is if Nuno thinks, right, let's think differently. Play 2 up top, 2 strikers. Okay, well, Raul, you can play with Silva and play Adama up against or Neto just behind them. Change the system. So if he changes the system, I can see him potentially maybe starting a game. But at the moment, I think his development, what we saw last night, the 2 goals, that's his path. And a few more games like that, a few more outings, maybe bring him on for 20 minutes or something. It's going to be a progression. You can't confidence as well.
Paul Best on Twitter says, will Adama be sold in January?
Everyone's got a price. But
Maybe.
no one's got money.
Well, I think if we're not using him very much and they get a big offer, they might. Whereas because at the moment he's only playing a bit par, but we'll have to see how the next couple of months go. I mean, it's like you say, it's a possibility, but a big signing like that costs some money in January. It costs a lot to move him. Mick, who's Wolf Raiders, says, do you think the quality of our players are being held back by the tactics of our coaching staff? He personally thinks so.
I think they've got to find other ways of playing when they're struggling. So they have got, I think the tactics work. We've shown that against Palace, Man City, second half, start against Sheffield United, free-flowing, passing. But when it doesn't work, that's where we've got to have something. Can't wait till half-time team talk. There's got to be something on the pitch which they've already trained for to say, right, we're going to do this switch now to make this work. So maybe there's a bit of truth into that.
Fair comment. Perth Wolves, that his name's David, has said a Wolves fan is going to be more positive. I said, David, can you clarify what you mean like that, buddy? He said, well, some on social media just have a go at the players. Look at Jota last season. We sold him and now they want him back.
That's just fickle football fans, isn't it? Like, and especially with social media these days, I don't think it's a true reflection of just people like moan. It's easy to moan, isn't it?
Not everybody's a loud mouth, are they? So the normal fans sitting at home and thinking about things. And Jota's gone on and scored lots of goals. Who cares, really? That's what he's.
I mean, he wasn't doing anything when he the end of the days at Molyneux.
He's gone.
We do know that Jota goes in, does tend to go in bursts as well. So it's when he stops scoring at Liverpool.
We know he's a good player, but he stagnated at our club for whatever reason, and that could be. If I offer you a job for 4 times your money at the best company in the world, your performance at your current job suddenly changes. Your psychology changes.
They did get 45 million for it. I think to do with especially Twitter. Twitter can be that sort of toxic playground at times.
It's easy. It's easy to throw the comment.
People say things behind the screen. And I think football fans, I'd like to think that we are quite thinkers when football fans, and you think things through a bit more. But not everyone is like that, are they?
No.
So,
and I think
after 3 years in the Premier League, where we've improved each year, we're now sitting at our best start ever in the Premier League.
Exactly right. Exactly.
So, okay, we're going to be negative about that. Carry on.
These types of fans would moan about something if they won the league, won the FA Cup, and won Europe in one season. So
yeah,
just that's right. With a pinch. So I've got one more left on Twitter, which is kind of a funny one, which I've left it till last. Nag, who's King Wolf 84.
Oh yeah.
You know it. He said if you could choose a random company to sponsor basically the Papa John's Trophy, what company would you choose? I'm going to go to Manny first to give you a little bit, because he's quite off the cuff, to give you a little bit time.
I ain't got a clue, man. I didn't even think about this. Like a random company to sponsor.
First, then I reckon it should be Samosa Limited.
Samosa. The other thing is we used to have like loads of local companies or local affiliated to the hometown who'd sponsor shirts and sponsor. So it'd be nice to have Lens Aquarium Supplies cup or something.
Amy, throw one out there.
I'm just going to say Banks's, because I work for Marston's and it's a local company. We need all the help we can get at the moment, and who doesn't want a pint of beer? So Banks's is like local and stuff as well. That might be a bit of a
there's a point. We did foundation last year because of the away matches, and it was good to portray the foundation. So just to pick on his point, it'd be nice, like Southampton and a few other clubs have done the third kit in the whole pink, and they've putting funds to breast cancer now, to do something like that occasionally, where you have a sponsor which is actually a charity, and the funds are going.
I think did Villa do it as well at one point with the Acorns?
Acorns, yeah. So maybe like fluid sponsorship, where we change from game to game.
It'd be interesting to see what the next sponsor is. Would it be Sure? Because they've just got the training sponsor, haven't they now? Sure.
Yeah, Sure did do a few teams. Apparently, they've signed deals.
Yeah, I saw that on there. They've got a football Instagram, Sure have, and they do it for a few teams now. But I thought it made the training kit look hideous, to be honest. Putting the sponsor
money talks.
I know it's money. I know. It just looks awful, but anyway.
And there are quite a lot of new products in the Wolves shop this year. Like they've just bought the retro.
Too many, man. Bloody hell.
There is the shops. They're getting some decent, good products in for a change, which is quite good. So there's plenty of stuff to pick and choose from that. Guys, it's been an absolutely really jam-packed. I'm going to have a big job editing this down. You know, if you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating and leave us some comments. Obviously, it'll be available on Spotify and all good podcast providers. And some of you will be watching this on the YouTube premiere. And if you're watching it after that, again, leave in the comments below. Ask us any questions you want us to cover on the next podcast, and we'll be sure to do that, which will be episode 14, which probably be in 2 or 3 weeks, especially whilst we've got the time. We'll try and get another one in after the next couple of games. Manny, how can people find you on your socials?
At Pedalsing, mainly on Twitter, so you can follow that.
And Amy?
I'm Amy Had on Instagram, and I've been told I need to get Twitter, so that's my job for the next few days.
Yes, get Twitter, and then we'll get you out there on Twitter. Me, it's Dazzling Dave on Instagram and Twitter, and you can also follow the Always Wolves Facebook page. We want to get that up to about 1,000. It's on 500 and something at the moment. So if you're on Facebook, follow the Always Wolves Facebook page as well. Absolute pleasure as always. And until the next one, from myself, Manny and Amy, and all of the squad listening wherever you are in the world, Always Wolves.
Samosa Saturday.